Steve, in order to describe this gospel rightly, we have used and do use language such as imputation, of substitution, even blood atonement. Are those negotiable terms, or are those central to the gospel itself?
All right, he's asking of Steve Wellam, are those terms negotiable? Now, I don't know how Steve's going to answer here, but I'll say yes, they are negotiable. And here's what I mean. Think of the Protestant Reformation. Those terms were negotiable. What does it mean by justified? What does justification look like? What does imputation of Christ's righteousness look like? For the classical Protestants, it looks like a legal ruling that Christ's righteousness is credited to our account. On a Roman Catholic view, you have a different sense. You have infused righteousness, that there is a change in the person that is the righteousness of Christ. So you have different views here, even in the Protestant Reformation, over these terms, like justification. So there is room for negotiation. Heaven forbid men from 500 years ago maybe got some theological points wrong. What is so wrong about that? Sometimes some people treat the Reformers as if what the Reformers wrote is gospel truth. And that is wrong. That's misguided. We should be willing to say that, hey, Reformers X, Y, and Z, they got it wrong. And really, because there was a diversity of Reformers, that's the case. I mean, I imagine some of these guys disagreed with Ulrich Zwingli on some issues. Say, on the issue of the Eucharist. What does this term Eucharist mean? Is that term negotiable? You could see here how, with my tone, I'm communicating to you that the way Mohler's setting this up so casually, he's just giving these loaded questions. All right, so let's see what Steve Wellam says.
Well, I would say they're central to the gospel because behind them, why do we need imputation? Why do we need blood atonement? Is because...
I'm going to pause there. These terms, I'm going to disagree with Steve. These terms are not central to the gospel. If you were to share the gospel with someone such that they begin to follow Jesus with their lives, they take up their cross daily, you teach them the scriptures, you pass along Jesus' teachings, you disciple them, does that mean that you have to tell them what justification is by a 16th century theologian and they have to believe that, or else they haven't understood the gospel? Come on. This is not realistic. This is not what pastoral ministry looks like. This is not what discipleship looks like. This is not what evangelism looks like. So these terms, justification, for example, are not central to the gospel message. They're not.
Because of who God is. He is holy and just. He is our creator and Lord. In Adam, we have fallen. We have sinned. We stand under his righteous judgment. We need a right standing before God. We cannot come into his presence apart from the forgiveness of our sins, justification, a perfect righteousness. That's imputation. We need a substitution. We need Christ to pay for our sin, to stand on our behalf. Without that, we have no good news. We have no relation with God. We have no overcoming of sin and death.
We're still dead in our sins and trespasses.
Dead in our sins. Yep. So to minimize any of those...
You've heard there Ephesians 2:1. I've gone over that, dead in our sins and trespasses. Again, they are just eisegetically bringing in their reformed interpretation of the word in, by which they mean state of being. But the text doesn't require us to bring in that extra baggage. We are dead in our sins and trespasses. We are dead in with respect to our sins and trespasses. Mode or method is another way of rightly, plausibly interpreting that preposition in. So as I've previously debated, you can't be both a slave to sin and dead in sin. You're either one or the other. If you're a slave, you're a living being, and you are locked into this relationship of a master-slave relationship. If you're dead, you're no longer in that relationship. So you can't be both. So Paul clearly means something with his metaphor when he talks about this. He clearly means something, and what I think he means, I've already explained it in other videos, but dead in sin, in our sins and trespasses, means with respect to. And then Paul then goes on to describe the consequences thereof.
Those truths of substitution, imputation, justification, we have no gospel.
Tom.
Wait, I gotta go back and repeat this. Did he just say we have no gospel without these terms?
To minimize any of those truths of substitution, imputation, justification, we have no gospel.
Yeah, I wouldn't phrase it the way that Steve does there. To minimize those truths. I mean, really, truly, I don't think we need to use all of these terms when we share the gospel with people. Not everybody is a hardcore, higher level academic theologian. And so to think that it would be a minimizing of the truths, no, I think that's just a wrong way of approaching this subject.